It's been a while since I talked about War Thunder on this channel, but there has been so much discussion about this topic and I have been messaged by so many people about this that I decided to make a video about it. I'm of course talking about the Depleted Uranium Abrams hull armor. With the introduction of the M1A2 SEP V2 and the premium M1A1HC to the game, a lot of people have noticed that the Abrams tanks are not performing so great in the game when compared to other top tier tanks, and this is reflected in their current win rate. So people do what they do and complain, and a topic of the hull armor got brought up and pretty much exploded in the past couple of days, with a lot of people complaining that it should be better, that the hull has been improved, and so on. But did it actually? Gaijin released a statement about this, and I will try to look at it and look at some of the documents people have been presenting as sources for the claim that the depleted uranium is actually present in the hull armor. The source I have seen most floating around which claims that the hull armor has depleted uranium in it is the 2006 Congressional Budget Office report. This source states that the M1A1 AIM model received heavy armor to both the turret and the hull. At first, this might seem like a reliable source, but it isn't. If we look at the report, we will see it was not written by someone related to tanks, because instead of using primary sources or people from the army, they are sourcing internet pages as sources. The source for this claim is even linked under the table, the Gary's Combat Vehicle Reference Guide, which is an online page using public documents for research. And the funniest part is that it doesn't even mention Abrams ever having the depleted uranium or the heavy armor in the hull. The only mention of depleted uranium is it being added to the turret cheeks of the M1A1HA. For the AIM model, it just mentions that armor has been upgraded, but that is because it has been upgraded to the M1A2 standard and is better than the original M1A1HA armor. To be fair, the author of the website states that the page has been updated in 2008, so the hull armor claim might have been present at the time when this report was written. But if that was the case, it has been removed, probably because it was an error. I have also seen people cite the Nuclear Regulatory Commission document for the renewal of DU armor application, where one paragraph states that the DU is located in both turret and the hull. But whoever posted this neglects to mention that this source states that there are only 5 DU hulls in existence, the very source the image Gaijin used is from. So this reliable source states that Abrams tanks that are in active service do not have DU in the hull armor, only 5 tanks present at army schools. And this source is from 2006, which means that M1A2 SEP was already a thing at this point, and means that even SEP did not get any DU in the hull. There are probably lots of cases like this, people taking sources and nitpicking information. I've also seen a lot of people take some random online articles and claim Abrams has DU in the hull, which of course is not reliable even in the slightest. So as far as DU in the hull is concerned, we have no primary or reliable sources that would indicate that depleted uranium has become a part of the hull armor package, at least not until SEP V2, including SEP V2. And on top of that, there are no mentions of Abrams' hull ever being upgraded. There is a segment from a ballistic research lab report that talks about new armor for the M1A2 hull, but it only states that there were efforts to make new hull armor, but never states it has actually been adopted. Even states that the applique armor upgrades serve only as possible applications for the future, since because of the collapse of USSR, this form of axe protection was not seen as necessary. Which could indicate that this new hull armor wasn't really seen as necessary either, and could explain why the hull armor hasn't been upgraded at all. On the other hand, we have a lot of primary and reliable sources that only ever mention DU for the turret, and not a single one mentions DU for the hull. Now, that being said, there are some things I believe Gaijin did get wrong in all of this. They said how they don't believe M1A2 would make any difference against top tier MBTs, and thus they don't believe it should be added. I believe it would actually make a difference. M1A2 currently has a very small chance of penetrating tanks like T-72B3, T-90A or T-80U, some Chinese tanks as well. Adding M1A2 would make it much easier to deal with these tanks, especially since M1A2 was made to deal with ERA such as Contact 5 by utilizing a steel tip. I believe that Gaijin did some calculations and did not take this into account, and concluded it wouldn't be a big difference. But even if we disregarded that, using pure brute force, M1A2 has much better chances of dealing with quite a bit of high tier tanks. Then there is the latest tank of the Abrams lineup, the SEP V2. Why did they put this model exactly? SEP and SEP V2 gameplay wise should not be any different. The main difference here is the Tusk 2 package that comes along with it. But other than that, there is nothing different between the two. The reason why I'm saying this is because SEP V2 is much older than most of the latest tanks that have been added to the game, like T90M or Leopard 2 A7V, which are both only a couple of years old and are the latest tanks of these powerful nations. Not to mention the Challenger 3, which is technically still not in active service even. US is currently operating SEP V3, a tank for which we do have sources claiming hull armor has actually been upgraded, and the tank has received a new armor package altogether. The armor package was initially dubbed Next Evolutionary Armor, but I couldn't find if the name has been changed or not. It should also be noted that SEP V3 received M suffix in the serial number on the turret, where it previously used to be letter U for uranium. Now, even though the armor got upgraded in the hull, we still don't know if they added DU to it or not, since there were no mentions of depleted uranium, just that the armor has been upgraded. But according to Gaijin themselves, there is a noticeable weight increase, and it should indicate improvements of protection. All that being said, there could be one reason why SEP V3 has not been added, and that could be the fact that they have nothing to base its protection on. For Leopard 2 and STRV, they have Swedish trials. For Russian tanks, there is a bunch of sources describing their armor, and even though it is unknown if T90M received new armor, since the turrets are brand new, they can still base it on T90A turret, and this armor, together with Relict, offers good protection, so even if T90M did receive some different armor package, in the game it wouldn't be relevant. But for Abrams, it is relevant, and it is relevant by quite a bit. But since the armor of SEP V3 is highly classified, how should they implement it in the game? This is a completely different armor package, and they have nothing to base it on. Maybe they can calculate the added weight in armor, by that I mean the percentage difference, and then add this percentage to the armor equivalency? I don't know, I'm trying to figure out a solution to this. Either way, if they can somehow come up with a solution for SEP V3 armor, I believe it would be a better tank for top tier USA than SEP V2. The thing is that SEP V3 might have a completely different armor package, and might not even have depleted uranium present in it anymore. Who knows? Now, one last thing I want to talk about briefly are spall liners. I've seen some people claiming how Abrams tanks have spall liners and how they should be added to the game. Well, they don't. Technically. Abrams does have spall liners, but only for the ammunition in the turret bustle. The crew compartment has no spall liners anywhere. This can be seen in images online, and I have asked a SEP V3 tanker, and he has confirmed to me that there are no spall liners present in either SEP V2 or SEP V3. I've also seen some people claiming how there are internal spall liners, as in inside the armor. That is not true, because it would kinda not make sense and would be pointless. Plus, we know that the sides of the hull are just steel, and the places where there is composite armor would not need spall liners inside the composites. That is simply not a thing. That would be all for now. If you like my content, you can support me on Patreon. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you all in the next video. Have a nice day.